Welcome into Extra Time. Thank you very much for your tweets. Ale Moreno with me in the studio. We've also got Frank Leboeuf and Ian Darke with us for the first time this week. The first time he's been with us since he sent out this tweet. Palace away is a very tough match for Liverpool, especially coming off a hard midweek game. They don't look the same team on the road this season. Only one away win. Could it be a 1-1 draw with Spurs game same Selhurst?
What?
How'd that work out, Ian?
Well, do you know what? I think for 2 minutes, my prediction was spot on. I was only 6 goals out.
Dear. Who is the likelier of the two to finish in the top 4 this season, Ian? Everton or Leicester City?
Oh, Leicester City. I think they're the better side, and they're going well again this season. And I think they're a bit stronger than last year when they kind of blew their chance of finishing in the top 4. This time, like the look of them.
Ali, what do you think about the biggest clubs hiring former players as their managers without any experience and learning on the job? Isn't the incoming Xavi at Barcelona another gamble a la Pirlo? Slightly different because he's been coaching.
Yeah, Xavi has actually been coaching as a professional. It was indeed a gamble to bring in Pirlo. However, and this is what Marcotti keeps telling us, that, well, he's just bringing new ideas.
He wrote a thesis.
Yes, wrote
Very
a thesis. And see, all those things are all fine and well, but then he gets to the point in which you have to convince the players to do the things that you're asking them to do. Now, a player like Pirlo has a lot of equity with players because he is Pirlo. So they'll hear him and they'll listen to him initially. But it gets to the point to where you go, okay, whatever we're doing is not working. And you end up going back to things that worked for you in the past. And when you have that, where the coach is telling you to do one thing, but you want to do the things that have made you successful in the past, that's when you have a problem, and that's when issues start showing up on the field.
Ian, it's such a lottery, isn't it? Because you can point to Zinedine Zidane and the massive success that he's had, and then you can point to maybe someone like Alan Shearer, of course, who coached Newcastle, and it really seems a mixed bag.
Yeah, absolutely. Frank Lampard's come in and done pretty well, hasn't he? He had a year at Derby and then straight into the Premier League with Chelsea, and so far so good with that. And Steven Gerrard at Rangers is making a success of that job. You'd think somewhere down the line he might get the Liverpool job, maybe with a Premier League assignment somewhere in between. So you never quite know who's going to be the right fit, who can make the change quickly. Some guys can be great players and never cut it at all as coaches.
Because, Frank, you've said in the past you look at Zidane and he didn't strike you as a natural leader, a natural coach.
That's true. He changed, I think, within the 2 years before heading the Real Madrid team. He changed his way of talking, of managing and everything, and he really bluffed me in a way. And I never thought he would be the manager that he has been, and what he does is absolutely fantastic. But going back to that question, it can be a fairy tale to get a former player becoming a manager. The problem with that is when it doesn't work, you have to get rid of him, and it's like getting the prince out of the castle in that fairy tale, and that's the main problem. It happened to Thierry Henry after 3 months in Monaco. It was a nightmare, and for those who love those players, they don't want to say, okay, sorry, it doesn't work, you have to go. It's difficult to do.
Here's the thing, it's not a perfect science. And whether it's a great player, former great player or not, you can have a guy who has done all the work to prepare himself for this very moment of being a manager, and he can put together the best PowerPoint presentation, and you're so impressed by him, meeting him, and then you put him out on the training field, and it just doesn't work. The players do not gravitate towards him, do not get the message, and are not able to execute the ideas. So you can do all the preparation you want, but I think what's key is, can you get the players to buy into what you're selling? And that, as simple as it may be, that is the key between anything and everything. If you get the players to buy in, then you're fine. If you don't, then you're on your way out.
Frank, you said that Zidane blocked you. Did you mean that he shocked you? He didn't literally block you on WhatsApp?
Bluffed you.
Oh, bluff.
He bluffed.
He
bluffed, sorry. He bluffed me.
See.
Yeah, but you know what?
If you rang him, would he answer the phone, Frank?
I don't know. I never tried. You know, I was just a simple player. I don't even know if he remembers me.
Please.
How can you not remember Frank Leboeuf?
Come
Crying
on.
out loud.
The beef. Come on.
Frank, let's talk a bit of Chelsea, shall we? Seeing how much Thiago Silva's leadership has benefited Chelsea this season, who was the best leader that you played with or played for?
Well, definitely, I think Denis Wise was a real leader, a fighter, a warrior, and we all, coming from other countries, we all followed him, and he was a fantastic captain. Otherwise, I was pretty much, with all humility, the leader of the team that I played for.
Yes, I love it when Frank starts a sentence with all humility.
Yeah, well, I have to add that because otherwise you're gonna run into it. You know, I know you.
We went from he was a simple player and Zidane is not gonna answer his phone calls to, look, with all humility, I am the leader.
I was the boss. I was the jefe.
You want to talk to somebody, you talk to me. You go through me first. Oh my goodness.
What about you, Ali?
Well, I would go to players that I played against rather than players that I played with. There were magnificent players in Venezuela that people would not be very familiar with. Jose Manuel Rey in Venezuela was a great captain for many years with the national team. But in terms of players that I played against, Diego Lugano with Uruguay.
Yeah.
There was something about him that being leader of that team, just he's embodied everything that Uruguay was about, and that tenacity and the aggressiveness and the physical nature of the way that they played. And then the ultimate leader, and thinking of some of the players that I played against in South America, Javier Zanetti for Argentina. The guy walking on the field with a captain armband, you just looked at him and you go, yep,
right.
That's different level. Yeah. That's at a entirely different level. Same thing with Cafu. He walks on the field and there's a presence
like
about
Frank
him.
Leboeuf walking on the field.
Well, of course, you talk to me. You want to talk to anybody, you talk to me. I'm the leader of this team, this guy.
With humility, Ali, is Suarez better than you at diving?
Goodness, that's a good question.
Did you complain as much as he does?
No, I did not. I knew I was trying to draw fouls, so therefore, if I got the calls, yes. If not, I tried to sell it as much as I could. No, I don't think he was better than me at drawing fouls. He was better than me in everything else, but in that particular aspect of the game, I must say, with all humility, I was pretty damn good.
Isn't Ruben Dias, Ian, one of the best summer signings in the Premier League? He's having the same impact Van Dijk had on Liverpool when he came, but no one's talking about him.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I always thought he was a good player at Benfica and for Portugal. And I think he's proving a super signing. Manchester City have the best defensive record in the Premier League. I think they've let in 2 goals in their last 9 matches in all competitions. And I think I'm right in saying that Dias has played in every one of those. And of course, he's been helped by a big return to form by John Stones alongside him, to the point where Laporte, I think he's probably not going to be in the Premier League side at the moment, but Dias, he's looked rock solid.
Ian, as a pioneer in commentating, what is your best Boxing Day memory?
I wouldn't call myself a pioneer. I'll tell you what my best Boxing Day memory is, and it's before I became a commentator, but I was alive then, way back when, and the 2 guys on the programme and yourself, Dan, are too young to remember this, but the teams used to play on Christmas Day and Boxing Day. They'd have a return against the same team. Wow. Or there'd be 2 fixtures between 2 teams over the Christmas period. And there were some extraordinary things happen. So I'm going to take you back to 1963, where Fulham beat, I think it was Ipswich, 10-0 at home one day, played them 2 days later at Portman Road and lost 4-2. On the same programme of games. West Ham lost 8-2 at home to Blackburn Rovers, went up to Blackburn and beat them 4-1. So I think the players were having some very nice drinks on the trains to the games in those days.
Frank, did you like playing on Boxing Day? Don't tell us the boring Southampton story again.
Well, not really. I never liked playing around noon a football game. I think it's too early. But when you sign for a club and therefore you sign for a championship, you agree with the tradition, and it's what it is in England. So you don't want to complain. You try your best, but it's not it's not the hours and you know. I like Christmas, I like New Year's Eve, and I couldn't celebrate it for like 5 years, so yeah, I didn't like it.
Final question. What was the worst hairdryer treatment, Ali, you ever got from a manager and coach, and why did you get it? Did you have a coach that shouted at you?
Not really.
That sort of way?
But I tell you, the worst thing was when you had a coach that had some bad breath or coffee breath. Or the old bad coffee breath.
Right, yeah.
So when you were called into the office for whatever the reason may have been, I tended to kind of stay.
Yeah, that always reminds me of teachers.
Yes, just at a safe distance, socially responsible.
Did you see people get shouted at?
I did, and in fact, we had just been beaten by Brazil 4-0 at home, and our captain at the time, Juan Arango, was complaining about some of our travel conditions and travel setup and this and that and the other. Maybe the fact that we were sitting on a tarmac for 4 hours waiting for a plane when Brazil came, celebrated, and left, and we were still there. He was complaining and whining about this, sort of quietly, but complaining nonetheless.
Right.
And our manager at the time, Cesar Farias, said to him, in a team meeting, ahead of playing against Ecuador, another World Cup qualifier, said, if you don't want to be here, yelling, of course, in Spanish.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be here, you can leave right now. And I'm in the back of the room thinking, actually, we need him to stay because we need to win this game. So maybe we don't want to yell too loud to this guy. We're just, hey, Juan, don't listen to him. You stay over here, buddy.
Did he stay?
Oh, he stayed and he scored. But you know who scored the game winner in that game? With humility. This guy!
Hey, back to Juan Arango, he scored some great goals.
Yes, he did. And that was a great goal in that game, too.
Yeah. Frank, did you ever get shouted at?
Yes. In fact, you know, you sent me a video about a game in Newcastle that was completely dreadful.
Yeah,
when I made 2 mistakes and we lost 2-1. I think Craig Burley scored a goal, and we lost 2-1 at St James's Park. And the day before, I asked for a day off for the week after with Gianluca Vialli and Gianfranco Zola to go somewhere, I don't remember. And he said, okay, we see the game, how it works tomorrow. And when we came back after the game, after my 2 mistakes, he yelled at me, say, you know, Frenchie, you can say whatever you want, you can cry, you know, the amount of time you want. You will never go and you will never have that day off. It is. Wow. I mean, the big guy, Ruud Gullit, was very, very angry at me.
And then how did you react?
Well, you accept that, you shut up. You know, especially I was dreadful, I was horrible. So what do you want to do? You put your head down and you accept, and you want to show the week after that you still can be quite good and not ugly like you just been.
I think I'd just cry. What was the worst that you saw a teammate receive, Frank?
I don't know. Nothing I can recall. Maybe something happened that I've seen. Maybe young players, managers, you know, yelling at young players because they lost their temper and everything. And I had the tendency to defend them because with big humility, I was mostly the captain of my team. So I try to help the youth, you know, against the coach if it was too hard, with lots of humility.
Yeah, exactly. Ian, we saw obviously Fergie not only unleash hairdryer on players but on journalists as well. Have you ever been shouted at by a coach?
I've been shouted at by Sir Alex Ferguson before he was Sir Alex as well. In the tunnel at Leeds one day, it wasn't my fault. The TV channel I was working for at the time had run a piece called Cantona's Crimes throughout the day. So he walked in and he saw me wearing the emblem of the TV channel, and shouted at me. I won't use the language. I'm going to have to cut out a few words. He said, "Get out of my sight. I won't be talking to you tonight or ever again." And I thought, what was that about? And it was about some piece that had been on the TV on the channel I didn't even know about, all about Cantona's red cards. But yeah, I mean, Alex was famous for chewing out the journalists, particularly on his Friday press conferences before games, to the point where quite a few of them were banned. And one of them, one of the Friday press conferences, put up his arm and said, "Am I allowed to ask a question today, Alex, or am I banned?"
Mark Ogden. Mark Ogden was banned. Yeah.
Dan, do I have the time for like a minute to explain to you, to tell you a nice story about Sir Alex Ferguson and myself?
Oh, it's like Pele. He said you were great, and you went, "Oh, thank you."
No, nothing about it. I was in Monte Carlo, and I was playing blackjack for like an hour, seated at the table, and suddenly the guy, I don't know how you call the guy, the croupier, and we say in France,
the dealer,
said. The dealer, thank you, told me, well, I'm very pleased that I can see you, both of you. And I said, why are you saying both of me, both of us, who? And I turned my head, and Sir Alex Ferguson was seated next to me for like an hour. I didn't see him, and he didn't see me because we were so much focused on the game. And he was with his wife, and we had a fantastic evening. And I was just thinking about that with Sir Alex Ferguson. It was a very nice evening with Mr. Sir Alex Ferguson.
Nice. Did you win?
Yes, I did win.
Of course you won. With humility.
With humility.
Of course, I put everything I put all the money with humility.
Yeah.
Blackjack. Of course.
That's the key. We're all going to Vegas with friends.
What else? What else?
With humility.
That is it. Thank you very much, as always, for your tweets. Just a reminder, we are here every day throughout the holiday period. There's no letting up. After these beautiful plants, be sure to join us for the next edition of the show. Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.